Hi everyone, this is Miss Murphy, and I'm here to continue with your portrait instructions and the next steps, which is how to apply value to your portrait. We already started out with some practice of facial features, and also the next thing is just making sure that you have your proportions drawn properly, meaning the space between your eyes, the space between your nose and mouth, the placement of your eyes. So remember to use the proportions as you were instructed in the previous video to ensure that you have everything in place first. So now we have an image of ourselves, a portrait that is drawn with just lines. We want to create more volume and depth. We want to make our portrait look more three-dimensional. So one of the things that you need to do is consider your light source. So in the photograph that I'm using, which is a black and white photograph that I have in front of me, the direction of my light is coming from this direction. So that means I know that this side of my face is going to be darker. So you can see that over here I'm going to have more shadows, also in the neck. And you want to make sure that you apply value to all of those important areas where you normally see shadows hitting. So I tend to start with the eyes. Notice I haven't colored in my eye, and depending on your eye color, that really depends on, that's really going to make a difference on what kind of details you add in here. So I'm really going to kind of focus on one side here. I'm going to look at my pupil, I'm going to look at the outside of my eye, and start to apply some details in here as I apply light and dark shadows. You might have darker eyes, so you really have to make sure that you're looking at your photograph carefully. Remember that there's all kinds of shadows happening in the eye, even in the white of the eye. So I'm going to go around here. Don't forget to also add eyelashes if you didn't do so yet. I'm going to go around these edges. I'm going to really focus on one side. Sometimes it's an additive and subtractive process where you erase some, you add some in as you go. And the other important aspect of this is making sure that I'm fixing my eyelashes here. That you have not just one value, but you have at least 5 or more different values throughout your portrait. So you want to make sure that you don't just have a dark and light, that you have multiple values, because if you really look at your face realistically, you don't just have one type of light and dark. You have many different tones in your face. So in order to make your portrait look more realistic, you need to also make sure you have the proper amount of tones and light and dark values throughout your face. So the other thing is, you might want to have a Q-tip. I have a blending stick here, as tortillon stick, and I'm just going to show you with a tissue, because you can also use that to kind of blend as you go along, in case you don't have anything at home like a Q-tip. But I'm starting from this side of my face. I'm going to very, very subtly create some value. And one thing you'll notice in your face is that you don't want to have just lines outlining areas, because sometimes it's a very subtle shadow actually, not a line. So I'm just fixing this one side, and I'm going to blend it afterwards. So I tend to go and find some of the darker shadows here on this side. You can even use your practice portrait as a reference. You know that your eyebrows are going to be a little bit darker, but look at where the light is hitting. If you have a black and white photograph, that is always best. It's very helpful to use if you can make a black and white photograph of yourself, in terms of just changing it on your phone or the portrait that you took on the computer. So I am going to just kind of add some shadows around here, and I just want to show the difference between one side and the other side as I go. So I'm going to add another little shadow here. And I'm doing this subtly. I want you to notice how I'm also holding my pencil at an angle, and that I'm just taking my time around the edges here. Some people like to blend it as they go. I tend to do a little bit and then I blend. So I'm going to actually start to blend now. But I wanted you to see where I was placing my shadows over here. So I have a little bit down here too. I'm going very softly in the beginning, so that way I can just blend it afterwards. But you can do that also as you go, as I said. So then when I blend it, sometimes I go in like a little soft circular motion here, or I just kind of, because you want it to look like it's not just lines, but it's actually just very natural gradation from dark to light happening in different areas throughout your face. Sometimes I take a little bit of what I already did and blend it on the top. But you can already see the difference in volume and value on one side versus the other. And I'm going to be doing the same thing on the other side. So you really, now this is just like one tone, but I can see I have maybe a middle gray, I have a light gray. Don't forget also, if you have one side that is darkest, you can also do those implied and actual lines, meaning that you take your pencil around some of the dark edges, you take your pencil around those areas, and just by doing this, that meaning like I'm making some edges darker than others, that just makes a really big difference. So I'm going to make, I'm just going to go around some edges very subtly, but leave some edges lighter. And that already makes a difference right there. And don't forget, you also have your neck, which is going to have some shadow. Now, I want this line to delineate my hair here, because I don't want that to get confused. But I am going to add a little bit of a shadow on my neck here below. And as you'll notice, this is what I do, as you may do it differently, but I like to go in different directions when I'm building value on my face here. I'm only going to do a little bit here and then just blend this out softly. And remember that you want it to look like it's gradually going from dark to light in areas that you would like it to. And then you can always go back in and layer on top of those areas that you want to be darker, like I'm about to do here. Usually under the eye, you have a little bit more shadow. And then you also have your eyelid area up here, that crease. So think about areas where you have a crease, or you're going to have a shadow because you have the direction of light hitting certain areas of your face. So you really want to take time to observe and notice those areas. I haven't really added anything to my hair yet, but sometimes it helps to add a little bit of an edge as you go. And you don't want to miss out on any areas such as the lips, and also below your nose. Usually we have a little bit of a line here, and I'm going to make this softer here. So not everything should be outlined in dark. You definitely don't want to do that. So even in my eyelid, I just do like some lines that are darker and some lines that are lighter. So now I'm going to add a little bit of a shadow down here. You can even use your finger to blend. But I want to look at my lips. We did some practice on this on our practice facial features. So I just wanted to demonstrate that for you here. I need to kind of fix my drawing a little bit here as I go. But you can notice also that I already have one side darker. I am going to be adding more to the other side, but you really want to notice those shadows, and also your lips have value as well. So usually when you go around the lips, you don't want to outline them and make them all dark outline, all areas of it just a dark outline, because that's not realistic. You might actually have some folds and creases in here. Well, then you just want to kind of gradually add some shadows, probably where the lip is closed or open. And I just really kind of take my time and get in there and start blending. And then also looking at, do I have any shadow between this part, between my nose and my lips? Usually there is a line there of some sort to give you a little, suggested line in there. And again, you can kind of go in with implied and actual lines, meaning some edges dark, some edges light. I'm still going to be adding more to this, subtly. Okay, and blending as you go. Don't forget also, you want to really look at some of those shadows elsewhere, not just on one side. So I'm going to continue to the other side, but I also just wanted to get you started with thinking about how to begin applying value. Thinking about when we've also practiced value scales in the past, and we did at least 5 or 6 values. I'm fixing my shirt. So I changed my mind how I wanted it. So you want to consider having at least 5 or more values in your portrait so that it's going to give it more dimension. I'm adding softly here. It's best to kind of go from like the lighter to the darker values as you build layers in your portrait. So I hope this helps you out with starting to apply value. And I will add another video just to give you a little more direction, but I just wanted you to see the difference here. I'm going to get into adding a little bit into my nose here, and continue from that point on. All right. Good luck with your first steps with adding value. Thank you.